Tyler was recognized for his magnetic personality and captivating charm. At 32 years old, with unruly hair and striking eyes, he turned heads wherever he went. His relaxed demeanor and effortless grin masked a complex family history that led him to shy away from deep connections and festive gatherings. Since his youth, Tyler had avoided family celebrations, haunted by the turbulent Christmases of his past. Instead, he chose to spend the holidays at bars or parties, seeking shallow amusement to fill the void within. William, his closest friend and colleague for many years, had been his constant companion during festive occasions. Together, they embraced the carefree single life, steering clear of attachments. But things were beginning to shift. That week, the office buzzed with the excitement of Christmas as coworkers chatted about trips, family dinners, and reunions. Tyler, however, had other plans in mind, a night out with William. 2 days before Christmas Eve, he approached his friend enthusiastically at the end of the workday. "Hey, Will, you won't believe it. I found this amazing new bar that's going to be the place to be on Christmas night. Live music, fantastic vibes, and of course, loads of gorgeous women. We've got to check it out," Tyler said, clapping William on the shoulder. William smiled, but there was a subtle unease in his expression this time. "That sounds great, man, but remember the girl I told you about? Rachel? Things are getting serious between us." Tyler raised an eyebrow, still processing the news. "Serious? Like, how serious?" "Serious as in, I'm spending Christmas with her family this year. She invited me, and it felt like the right moment," William admitted. The surprise was evident on Tyler's face. His loyal wingman for countless escapades was opting for a family Christmas instead. He laughed nervously, trying to mask his disappointment. "Oh, I see. So you're tying the knot, huh?" he joked, half in jest, half resentful. William chuckled, attempting to lighten the mood. "It's not like that, man. Life changes, you know. Maybe one day you'll get it." Still skeptical, Tyler shrugged and feigned indifference. After saying goodbye, he tried inviting other friends, sending messages, and stopping by desks in the office. But the responses were the same. Everyone had commitments, family dinners, romantic plans, or trips. For the first time, Tyler realized that while he stayed stuck in his lifestyle, those around him were moving forward. What once felt like a carefree, fun existence now began to feel like inevitable solitude. On the last workday before the holiday, the office radiated a festive spirit. Twinkling lights framed the windows, and the scent of gingerbread cookies mingled with the usual aroma of coffee. Laughter echoed in the halls, blending with muffled Christmas tunes playing in the break room. Colleagues exchanged cards, hugs, and brightly wrapped gifts, preparing to start their celebrations. In contrast, Tyler lingered at his desk, his eyes fixed on the computer screen as he idly twirled a pen. He pretended to be busy, though there were no tasks left to complete. The truth was, he had no plans, no parties to attend, and no one waiting for him. When his phone rang, snapping him out of his thoughts, he saw his mother's name on the screen. Letting out a sigh, he answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Hi, Mom." "Tyler, sweetheart, I know you're busy, but I hope you're still considering my invitation. The dinner will be lovely, and everyone would love to see you. It's been far too long," she said, her voice filled with hope. Tyler closed his eyes briefly, guilt and unease swirling within him. He didn't want to disappoint her, but the thought of confronting painful memories and complicated family dynamics held him back. "Thanks, Mom, but I already have plans. It's going to be a great night," he lied. There was a pause on the other end before she replied softly. "All right, darling. Just remember, there's always a place for you at the table." After hanging up, Tyler gazed around the now nearly empty office. Only Alice remained, silently working at her desk in the finance department. Alice was an unassuming presence, often overlooked amidst the office's daily bustle. Her long brown hair was tied back in a simple bun, a few wisps framing her face. Thin-framed glasses perched on her nose, complementing her understated, neutral-toned attire. Her reserved demeanor and focus on work earned her the nickname Cat Lady among colleagues, a label reflecting shallow stereotypes. Tyler, like many others, had never bothered to know more about her. She seemed perpetually engrossed in spreadsheets and reports, indifferent to the whispers around her. Rarely invited to office gatherings, she accepted the exclusion with quiet grace, her introspective nature often mistaken for aloofness. As Alice walked past his desk, Alice hesitated briefly, clutching a few sheets of paper in one hand. Her smile was modest yet sincere, and her gentle tone interrupted the silence in the vacant office. "I didn't realize anyone else was still here," she said warmly. "You're really committed. Just don't overdo it. You wouldn't want to miss Christmas dinner." Tyler glanced up from his screen, startled by her presence. He let out a nervous chuckle, shaking his head. "Actually, I don't have any plans for the holidays," he admitted. Alice raised her eyebrows slightly, surprised by his response. She lingered for a moment, as though debating whether to continue. "Well," she said tentatively, "I don't have anyone to spend Christmas with either. I'm just planning to cook a simple dinner at home. If you'd like, you're welcome to join me, at least to have something to eat." Tyler was momentarily at a loss for words. The thought of spending Christmas with the so-called office cat lady wasn't exactly his vision of a festive evening. He began to politely decline, but stopped when he noticed the sincerity in Alice's eyes. There was no trace of pity or desperation in her invitation, only genuine kindness and a desire to offer companionship to someone equally alone. "Well, why not?" he said eventually. "It might be nice to have something other than frozen meals." Alice smiled, visibly pleased by his response. Later that evening, Tyler arrived at Alice's apartment, surprised to be greeted by an exuberant Labrador instead of the rumored horde of cats. "This is Max," Alice introduced the dog affectionately. "He loves visitors." Tyler couldn't help but laugh at the irony. The cozy, tastefully decorated apartment smelled of cinnamon and pine, creating a warm, inviting atmosphere. A painting on the living room wall caught his attention, a serene depiction of mountains and a lake. "I painted it a few years ago," Alice explained, noticing his interest. "It's beautiful," Tyler said, admiring the intricate details. Alice invited him to help himself to a drink from the small bar in the room while she finished preparing dinner. Choosing a glass of red wine, Tyler settled onto the plush sofa, feeling unexpectedly at ease. "I'm not sure what your family's traditions are," Alice called from the kitchen. "Do you wait until midnight to eat?" "My family didn't really have any traditions," Tyler replied. "We can eat now if that's all right with you." The table was set with care, featuring roasted turkey, potatoes, vegetables, and a pie that smelled divine. Tyler was touched by the effort Alice had put into the meal. As they ate, Alice observed him with quiet curiosity. "Tyler," she began softly, "may I ask you something? You don't have to answer if it's too personal, but why are you spending Christmas alone?" Tyler hesitated, his gaze fixed on the glass in his hand as he swirled the wine absent-mindedly. The room was filled with a sense of comfort and magic, and something about Alice's open and compassionate demeanor prompted him to lower his guard. "My family is complicated," he said finally, his voice subdued. "Growing up, my parents had this cycle of fighting and making up. Every holiday, especially Christmas, turned into a war zone. The smallest thing, like a dry turkey or a forgotten gift, would spark an argument. Christmas was never that idyllic, joyful time people always talk about." He paused, his expression distant. Alice remained silent, encouraging him to continue. "But," he said after a moment, his voice catching slightly, "there was one Christmas that felt different. My parents were calm, almost kind to each other. I remember my sister joking that it must be a Christmas miracle. We laughed, talked. For the first time in years, it felt like we were a normal family." Tyler's grip tightened on his glass as he looked down. "At the end of the night, we all gathered in the living room. My parents called us together. I thought they were going to announce something exciting, maybe something that explained why everything had been so peaceful. Truth. But what they mentioned was their intention to part ways." He released a brief, sharp chuckle, almost as if trying to ease the heaviness of the memory. "It was startling. I spent the entire night gazing at the shimmering lights of the Christmas tree, attempting to make sense of how something so serene and joyful could have been a covert farewell. After years apart, my parents eventually reconciled. It seemed they had discovered some equilibrium, yet the sense of uncertainty never completely vanished. Since then, they've always invited me to join them for the holidays, but deep down, I carry a lingering anxiety. What if, amidst a seemingly peaceful dinner, they start bickering again? Or worse, announce once more that they're going to separate?" It's as though a part of me is perpetually braced for the worst case scenario. That's why I choose to maintain my distance. It feels less painful to deal with the loneliness I'm accustomed to than to risk exposing myself to fresh heartbreak. He exhaled deeply. Perhaps it's cowardice, but that's how I've managed it, keeping my distance to avoid losing everything all over again. Alice listened closely, her eyes reflecting compassion as Tyler recounted his story. When he finished, a brief, thoughtful silence enveloped them. Tyler felt the weight of his candor, but with a mix of curiosity and trepidation, he tentatively asked, "And you, Alice? Why didn't you have any plans for Christmas?" Alice gently set her fork down, the movement appearing to help her collect her thoughts. Her brown eyes softened, though a shadow of old, profound sorrow lingered there. "Well, my parents have both passed away. They were wonderful people but left this world too soon. And to be honest, my marriage didn't survive the loss of our 3-year-old son." The impact of her words was immediate. Tyler, caught completely off guard, nearly choked on his food, his fork clattering onto the plate with a sharp sound that broke the silence. His eyes widened as he looked at Alice, struggling to reconcile her composed demeanor with the immense grief she carried. I'm so sorry, Alice. I had no idea," he stammered, his voice heavy with remorse and embarrassment for not having seen her pain earlier. Alice offered a gentle smile, one that conveyed acceptance and resilience. "It's all right, Tyler. Thank you. It's been a few years. I still miss him every day. The longing never really goes away, but the sharpest pain has dulled with time." She paused, her gaze briefly drifting toward a painting on the wall. "Unfortunately, grief was something my ex-husband and I couldn't navigate together. We lost our son, and over time, we lost each other too." Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat, suddenly feeling as though his own fears and wounds, which he had always deemed significant, paled in comparison to Alice's profound loss. "You're incredibly strong, Alice," Tyler murmured, disarmed by her calmness and honesty. Alice looked up and gave a slight shrug, her smile softening. "Strength isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's simply the only path forward." "Can I offer you some advice, Tyler?" She leaned in slightly. "Don't let fear of the unknown rob you of the joy you could experience in the present with your family. Dwelling on the past steals time we'll never get back." Alice's words resonated deeply with Tyler. The rest of the dinner carried on in a lighter, more cheerful tone. They discovered shared interests, from favorite music to beloved movies. Tyler was astonished at how quickly time passed in her company. As midnight approached, Tyler remarked, "Alice, I really enjoyed tonight. I never imagined you'd have so many hilarious stories." Alice laughed. "Who would have thought that the cat lady used to be the lead singer of a rock band back in college, huh?" Tyler flushed, embarrassed that she knew about the nickname, but Alice didn't seem offended, only amused by the situation. Tyler had a realization. "Alice, you were absolutely right about not dwelling on past fears. Would you come with me to my parents' house? They live close by. Maybe we can still make it in time for dessert." Alice agreed, delighted to assist Tyler in reconnecting with his family. When they arrived at Tyler's parents' home, they were met with expressions of surprise and joy. Tyler's mother, a silver-haired woman with a warm demeanor, couldn't contain her emotions upon seeing him. "Tyler, what a delightful surprise," she exclaimed, embracing him tightly. Tyler's father, a man with a serious appearance but kind eyes, smiled warmly. "I'm so glad you came, son." Tyler introduced Alice as his friend, and she was welcomed with open arms. The living room was adorned with twinkling Christmas lights, and the scent of cinnamon and hot cocoa wafted through the air. Tyler's family radiated happiness at his unexpected presence. His siblings, now married with children, played games with the kids near the Christmas tree. Tyler felt a pang of regret for missing out on moments like this in recent years. As they indulged in dessert, a delectable pecan pie, Tyler observed the lively scene. His mother laughed at one of his father's jokes, nieces and nephews darted playfully around the room, and Alice chatted animatedly with his sister-in-law. Tyler realized the fears that had kept him away were baseless. Before him was a loving, united family he had distanced himself from for far too long. In the months that followed, Tyler and Alice grew closer. Tyler discovered in Alice an empathetic friend and a source of joy, while Alice found in Tyler someone who brought laughter into her life and encouraged her to step out of her comfort zone. Slowly but surely, their bond deepened, transforming into something more profound. Tyler, who had long avoided serious relationships, found himself falling in love with a woman once unfairly labeled the odd one at work. The following Christmas, Tyler and Alice celebrated together at his family's home. The air buzzed with festive cheer, laughter, and spirited conversations. Watching Alice interact effortlessly with his family, Tyler felt a joy he hadn't experienced in years. Seizing a quiet moment, Tyler called for everyone's attention. Heart pounding, he knelt before Alice and revealed a small box. "Alice," he began, "you've shown me that the past doesn't dictate the future. You've taught me to cherish the present and open my heart again. You inspire me to be better every day. Will you marry me?" With tears of joy, Alice whispered, "Yes." Tyler's family erupted in applause and heartfelt congratulations. As he hugged Alice, Tyler murmured, "Christmas will no longer be a day tied to painful memories, but a celebration of hope and new beginnings." They shared a tender kiss, solidifying not only their love, but also the promise of a joyous future together. That evening, while everyone celebrated their engagement and the family's unity, Tyler looked at Alice with deep gratitude. She wasn't just the woman he loved. She was the one who had helped him rediscover the importance of family and the magic of Christmas. What began as an unexpected encounter between two lonely souls blossomed into a beautiful tale of love, healing, and renewal. Tyler and Alice proved that the best Christmas gifts don't come wrapped in paper, but as second chances and fresh starts.